Qur'an Truth, the king who built a massive wall to stop a global threat. Bismillah. There are stories in the Quran that shake the imagination, stories so powerful that even today, historians and scientists cannot fully explain them. And among those stories stands the tale of a king. Not an ordinary ruler, not a tyrant, not a warlord, but a man chosen by Allah, blessed with justice, strength, leadership, and unstoppable determination. A man known as Dhul-Qarnayn, the righteous king who traveled to the edges of the earth. The king who judged with fairness. The king who used his power not for fame, but for service. And the king who built one of the greatest engineering miracles in human history, a massive iron and copper wall designed to contain a dangerous global threat, the tribes of Ya'juj and Ma'juj, Gog and Magog. Today, Malam Gigi, we revisit a story many Muslims heard in childhood but never fully understood. A story that is not mythology, not folklore, but Qur'anic truth with lessons for our generation. A story that teaches that leadership is a trust, not a throne. That power is a responsibility, not a game. And that when Allah supports a believer, even mountains can be shaped, melted, and raised into a barrier that lasts centuries. This is not just about a wall. It is about courage in the face of global danger, wisdom when people lose hope, and the reality that Allah's plan always protects His creation, even in ways we cannot see. My beloved listeners, before we continue, take a pause. Share the message. Drop your comments. Like the video. And most importantly, subscribe to keep receiving more Quranic truths that strengthen your faith. So sit with your heart attentive, because today we uncover one of the most dramatic chapters in the Quran. The king, the journey, the wall, and the threat that will rise again near the end of time. This is Wisdom from a Minbar, and you're listening with Malam Gigi, the mysterious king, who was Dhul-Qarnayn. Bismillah. Before we talk about the wall, before we talk about the journey to the ends of the earth, before we talk about Ya'juj and Ma'juj, we must step back and ask the most important question. Who exactly was Dhul-Qarnayn? His name appears only a few times in the Quran, yet the impact of his story echoes across centuries. Allah dedicates an entire passage in Surah Al-Kahf to him, describing a ruler who reached places no king had ever reached, made decisions no leader had ever made, and built something no civilization has ever matched. But let's begin at the beginning. 1. A king mentioned directly by Allah. Allah says, "Indeed, we established him upon the earth and gave him a means to everything." Surah Al-Kahf, 18 hours, 84 minutes. This one verse already tells us three things. 1. Dhul-Qarnayn was not a normal king. Allah himself established him on earth. This means his kingdom was stable, his rule was divinely supported, his success was protected by Allah's plan. 2. He was given power and resources beyond ordinary rulers. Allah says He gave him the means to everything, meaning military strength, knowledge, engineering, ability, leadership, wisdom, travel, routes, divine guidance. He was a complete package, a king who combined spirituality with strategy. 3. He used his power for justice, not arrogance. You will notice throughout the story that Dhul-Qarnayn never brags. He never claims greatness. He never says, "I built this." Instead, every success begins with Bismillah and ends with, "This is a mercy from my Lord." This humility is what separated him from pharaohs and tyrants. 2. Why is he called Dhul-Qarnayn? The Quran does not explain the title directly, but the scholars have offered several explanations. Meaning 1, the one with two horns. This may refer to his reaching the far west, where the sun sets, and the far east, where the sun rises. Two extremities, two horns of the world. Meaning 2, a king with two great powers. Some scholars say he had worldly authority and divine guidance. A powerful combination. Meaning 3, a helmet with two horns. Ancient kings wore helmets with horns to symbolize dominance. Dhul-Qarnayn may have worn something similar, not out of arrogance, but as a symbol of leadership. Regardless of which explanation is correct, one thing is clear. His power extended in two major directions, and Allah supported both. 3. Was Dhul-Qarnayn Alexander the Great? Many people in history confuse the two, but Islamic scholars, especially the scholars of the Quran, strongly reject this idea. Why? Because Alexander the Great was a pagan, a man who believed in false gods. But Dhul-Qarnayn was a righteous monotheist whose heart was filled with Tawheed. The Quran shows him saying, "As for whoever believes and does good, he will have the best reward." This is not the language of a pagan king. This is the language of a guided servant of Allah. So no, Dhul-Qarnayn was not Alexander the Great. He was something far greater. For a king loved by his people. Unlike modern leaders who rule through fear, intimidation, and corruption, Dhul-Qarnayn ruled through wisdom, compassion, justice, patience, consultation. Everywhere he traveled, people came to him with trust. They didn't run from him. They ran toward him. Why? Because he was a king who solved problems, uplifted societies, and protected the weak. He did not rule with oppression. He ruled with mercy. 5. A leader who traveled the world. Dhul-Qarnayn is described as a man who did not stay in a palace. He journeyed to the west, to the east, through harsh valleys, over dangerous mountains, across unknown lands. Not for tourism, not for conquest, but to spread justice and guidance. Every place he traveled, he carried faith in Allah, wisdom, strength, judgment, and responsibility. This made him a rare king, a king who didn't wait for problems to come to him. He went to the problems. 6. Allah tested him with power. Most people are tested with poverty. Some are tested with sickness. Others are tested with weakness. But Dhul-Qarnayn was tested with something far more dangerous. Power. Power reveals the true heart of a person. Many rulers become corrupt. They become arrogant, abusive, selfish. But Dhul-Qarnayn remained humble, grateful, and guided. If he punished, it was fair. If he rewarded, it was generous. If he acted, it was balanced. His entire kingdom operated under one principle. Justice is worship. 7. The beginning of a global mission. Chapter 1 sets the foundation for the entire story. We understand now that Dhul-Qarnayn was chosen by Allah. He had a unique combination of strength and faith. He traveled the world to establish justice. He was supported with divine means. His leadership was a mercy, not a threat. His story is not ancient history. It is a lesson for today. His journey is about to take him to the far west, then the far east, then to a terrified nation facing an unimaginable threat, all preparing him for the greatest construction project in human history, the wall of Yajuj and Majuj. And that becomes the heart of the next chapter. The king's journey to the west, lessons in justice. Bismillah. After establishing the identity of Dhul-Qarnayn, the Quran takes us straight into action, into his first great journey. A journey toward the far west, toward the place where the sun appears to set behind the horizon. It was a journey that would reveal the depth of his justice and the sincerity of his heart. Allah says, "So he followed away." Al-Kahf, 18 hours, 85 minutes. This simple phrase shows something important. Dhul-Qarnayn didn't wander blindly. He followed a path guided by strategy, purpose, and revelation. 1. Reaching the edge of the Western world. The Quran describes an image so vivid you can almost see it, until he reached the setting place of the sun, and he found it setting in a spring of dark mud. Al-Kahf, 18 hours, 86 minutes. Of course, the sun does not literally sink into water. Rather, from his viewpoint, the horizon made it look like the sun melted into a deep, blackened sea, a place many historians believe was the coast of the Atlantic. When he arrived, he didn't find emptiness. He found a people, a community living in hardship, lacking direction, and confused by moral corruption. These people needed leadership. They needed justice, and they needed someone brave enough to handle their disputes. Allah then tested Dhul-Qarnayn with a divine question. We said, "O Dhul-Qarnayn, you may punish them, or you may treat them kindly." This is the moment where ordinary kings fail. But Dhul-Qarnayn shines. 2. A test of judgment and mercy. With full authority, Dhul-Qarnayn could have ruled however he wished. He had military power, political authority, divine permission. But instead of using his strength for ego or oppression, he responded with a principle that every Muslim leader should memorize today. As for the one who does wrong, we will punish him. But the one who believes and does good, he will have the best reward. Al-Kahf 18:87-88. In just 2 lines, he displayed perfect justice. He punished wrongdoing, but fairly. He did not turn a blind eye to crime. He did not allow injustice to spread. He did not let the strong oppress the weak. He rewarded goodness generously. He lifted the believers. He motivated the righteous. He built a society where faith and good deeds brought honor. This is leadership rooted in balance. Not hard-hearted, not soft and weak, but firm, fair, and guided by Allah. 3. A model for every leader. This moment teaches the entire Ummah a crucial lesson. Power is not about how hard you strike. Power is about how wisely you judge. Dhul-Qarnayn didn't rule with anger. He ruled with understanding. He didn't rush into punishment. He analyzed, reflected, and made decisions that protected society while encouraging moral growth. In our time, with political instability, corruption, tribalism, and injustice, his example becomes a blueprint for leadership. Reward righteousness, correct wrongdoing, protect the weak, establish fairness, rule with humility. This is why Allah preserved his story for us. 4. The journey continues because justice never stops. After bringing order to the West, Dhul-Qarnayn didn't settle in a palace. He didn't celebrate victory. He didn't relax. Allah says, then he followed another way. Al-Kahf 18 hours, 89 minutes. Why? Because leadership is not about one victory. It is about continuous service. Dhul-Qarnayn knew there were more oppressed people out there, more corrupt nations, more broken communities, more challenges waiting for a leader guided by Allah. So he moved forward toward the east, where he would encounter a people living under harsh conditions and make decisions that showed a different kind of wisdom. But all of that belongs to chapter 3. The journey to the east, leadership in harsh environments. Bismillah. After establishing justice in the west, Dhul-Qarnayn continues his mission. The Quran repeats a powerful line. Then he followed another way. Al-Kahf 18 hours, 89 minutes. This shows us something unique about him. He was a king who never waited for problems to arrive. He went searching for places where he could bring justice, guidance, and protection. So he traveled days, weeks, possibly months, until he reached the Far East. 1. A people with no shelter from the sun. Allah describes these eastern people in a single, striking verse. Until he reached the rising place of the sun, he found a people for whom we had provided no shelter from it. Al-Kahf 18 hours, 90 minutes. Think about that. No buildings, no homes, no shade, no structure, nothing to protect them from the blazing sun. This was not a wealthy nation. This was not a kingdom with armies. These were people living in extreme hardship, possibly nomadic tribes, or a community in a barren desert or scorched land. And yet, even though they were different from him, different culture, different lifestyle, different customs, Dhul-Qarnayn approached them with wisdom, not arrogance. 2. The king's leadership is tested again. Notice something important. In the West, people had moral problems. Some were corrupt, some were oppressors, and Allah tested Dhul-Qarnayn with justice. But in the East, the test is different. These people did not ask him for help. They did not ask to be ruled. They did not complain. They simply lived with conditions Allah had decreed for them. So what did Dhul-Qarnayn do? Allah tells us, thus it was, and we fully encompassed what he had. Al-Kahf 18 hours, 91 minutes. This means Dhul-Qarnayn understood their situation. He didn't impose on them. He didn't change their lifestyle. He didn't force his culture on them. He didn't treat them as less civilized. He didn't behave like a colonizer or conqueror. He respected their reality while observing how best to guide. This is true leadership, knowing when to step in and when to step back. 3. A king who knew how to deal with different nations. Dhul-Qarnayn showed the world that leadership is not a one-size-fits-all solution. In the West, he enforced justice. In the East, he observed and understood. Sometimes people need protection. Sometimes people need structure. Sometimes people simply need respect. This flexibility is what made Dhul-Qarnayn a model ruler. He didn't treat every nation the same way. He treated each nation with the wisdom their situation required. Many leaders today fail because they cannot adapt. They force one approach everywhere. They assume every problem has the same solution. But Dhul-Qarnayn teaches us, a leader must understand people before leading them. 4. A hidden lesson. Allah decides people's conditions. The Quran's message here is subtle but powerful. These Eastern people lived in harsh conditions because Allah decreed it. Allah says, "We had provided no shelter for them." Meaning, sometimes Allah tests a community with environment, heat, cold, drought, storms, not as punishment but as a test of patience and gratitude. Dhul-Qarnayn recognized this. He did not belittle their condition. He did not see them as inferior. He saw them as people living the life Allah chose for them. This humility is rare in kings, but it is the hallmark of a leader with fear of Allah. 5. Preparing Dhul-Qarnayn for his greatest test. The journey to the east might seem simple, but it was preparing him for something much bigger. 3 qualities he displayed here would be essential for the challenge ahead. 1. Patience with different cultures, because he was about to meet a people unlike any he had seen before. 2. Wisdom and judgment, because the next nation would beg him for protection. 3. Humility before Allah, because only Allah could help him build what was coming. The next destination would bring Dhul-Qarnayn face to face with the most feared threat on earth, Ya'juj and Ma'juj, the destroyers of civilizations. But before he could build the wall that would change history, he needed to meet the people who were crying for his help. The Great Wall, power, engineering, and divine purpose. In this chapter, we step into the heart of the story. The construction of the mighty barrier built by Dhul-Qarnayn, a king whose leadership blended justice, power, mercy, and faith in a way the world has rarely seen. The Quran describes a moment unlike any other, an entire civilization trembling, a threat beyond their control, and a king who rises not for fame, not for glory, but for Allah. Let's break it down in detail. 1. A nation in fear, a problem bigger than any army. The people Dhul-Qarnayn encountered lived between 2 mountain barriers, a place exposed and vulnerable. When they spoke to him, their voices carried fear that had lasted for generations. They could not defend themselves. Their children grew up hearing terrifying stories of invasion. Their farms and lands lived under constant threat. Their future felt uncertain and hopeless. Their enemy? Gog and Magog, Ya'juj and Ma'juj, a destructive, powerful, uncontrollable force that swept through lands like a flood, leaving chaos behind. These people didn't just need help. They needed a solution bigger than themselves. And they turned to Dhul-Qarnayn not for money, but for protection. 2. Dhul-Qarnayn's leadership. What makes a real Islamic ruler? Instead of exploiting them, instead of imposing heavy taxes, instead of using their fear to control them, he rejected their payment, saying, "What Allah has given me is better." This is the spirit of true Islamic leadership. Power used for service, not oppression. Strength used to uplift, not dominate. Wealth used for protection, not corruption. Imagine a world where today's leaders acted with this kind of sincerity. This moment alone is a lesson for presidents, governors, kings, and even fathers leading their homes. 3. The engineering marvel, a wall unlike anything on earth. When Dhul-Qarnayn agreed to help, he did not simply build a small fence or a weak border wall. He constructed a barrier so advanced that no army could break it, no climber could scale it, no force could penetrate it, no tool could weaken it, even Ya'juj and Ma'juj could not breach it. The Qur'anic description is powerful. Step 1. Massive foundations. He ordered huge iron blocks to be placed between the 2 mountains. This created a frame stronger than stone. Step 2. Filling the structure. The people worked under his command, cutting, lifting, placing, reinforcing. making them part of their own salvation. Step 3. Heating the iron. They blew air until the iron became red and fiery hot, glowing like the sun. Step 4. Pouring molten copper. Dhul-Qarnayn then poured molten copper over the entire structure, sealing it like a metal fortress. This combination, iron plus fire plus copper coating, created a barrier with an unmatched level of strength, durability, and resistance. Even modern engineers marvel at this design. For a wall built by faith, science, and unity. The miracle of this story is not just the wall. It is the cooperation between a just Kinga united people divine guidance human effort advanced engineering strong leadership. Dhul-Qarnayn turned a terrified nation into a working force. He took a hopeless situation and transformed it through discipline, organization, resources, technology, tawakkul, trust in Allah. This is Islam's balance. Faith and action, dua and effort, belief and hard work. 5. A wall that became a mercy for the world. When a structure was completed, Dhul-Qarnayn declared, "This is a mercy from my Lord, not his achievement, not his legacy, not his brilliance, a mercy from Allah." And with that, a global danger was stopped. A civilization was saved. A king fulfilled his mission. And the world experienced peace from a threat that would one day return near the end of times. Ya'juj and Ma'juj, the final break and the end-time prophecy. We move from history to destiny, from the past of Dhul-Qarnayn's wall to the future of the world. Because the Quran makes something very clear. This wall will not last forever. It was strong, mighty, unbreakable for its time. But its destruction is part of the divine plan, tied directly to the final signs before the day of judgment. Let's walk through this prophecy step by step. 1. A warning from Dhul-Qarnayn himself. When Dhul-Qarnayn completed the barrier, he said, "This is a mercy from my Lord. But when the promise of my Lord comes, he will level it to the ground." Meaning, the wall is not permanent. The protection is temporary. The threat is paused, not eliminated. The end-time event is guaranteed. This is not a myth. This is not a legend. This is Qur'anic decree. And believers must understand it with seriousness, not fear. 2. The wall will break near the end of time. Rasulullah described in authentic narrations that every day, Ya'juj and Ma'juj attempt to dig through the wall. They almost succeed until they say, "Tomorrow we will continue." But they forget to say, "Insha'Allah," and the wall becomes whole again by Allah's will. Then one day, when Allah permits, they will say, "Tomorrow, Insha'Allah," and they will find a wall exactly as they left it. That day, they will finally break through. This moment will shake the earth. 3. Who are Ya'juj and Ma'juj? The Prophet described them as a massive, overwhelming population, strong and aggressive, savage in destruction, consuming everything in their path, causing corruption wherever they go. They are human, but their sheer number and behavior make them a global catastrophe. When they are released, they will flood down from every mountain. They will drink entire rivers dry. No army can stop them. No weapon can defeat them. No government can contain them. Humanity will retreat in fear. Even the believers will feel overwhelmed. This is not just a military threat. It is a worldwide calamity, one of the greatest signs before Qiyamah. 4. The final refuge of the believers. The Prophet said that when Ya'juj and Ma'juj break free, they will sweep across the earth so fast that no nation can gather against them. Even Isa, Jesus, who will be on earth at that time, will not fight them directly. Instead, believers will retreat with Isa to Mount Sinai. There, the Muslims will raise their hands and make dua. "O Allah, save us." This shows something important. The strongest weapon at that time will not be technology, not armies, not walls, not alliances, but dua and patience. The end times are a test of faith more than a test of force. 5. Allah himself will end their destruction. When their corruption reaches its peak, Allah will send a miraculous, invisible punishment. A worm will appear in their necks. They will fall dead instantly. The entire earth will become silent after chaos. But then another problem arises. Their bodies fill the world. A smell spreads. the earth becomes difficult to live in. So again, Allah sends His mercy. Birds as large as the biggest animals, they will carry the bodies away. Rain will wash the earth, grass, and life will return. Peace will settle once more. This teaches us, Allah begins the story, Allah ends the story, and mankind is only part of the middle. 6. The purpose of the prophecy. Allah did not tell us about Ya'juj and Ma'juj to scare us. He told us to strengthen our belief in the unseen, prepare our hearts for the reality of the last, to understand that this world is temporary, know that power, walls, and kings all fade. Remember that only Allah's protection lasts forever. Dhul-Qarnayn built a wall. Ya'juj and Ma'juj will one day break it. But the final victory always belongs to Allah. And the believer's job is not to panic, but to stay firm, truthful, righteous, and ready. Lessons for our time. What Dhul-Qarnayn's story means for modern Muslims. We have journeyed through the Qur'anic story of Dhul-Qarnayn, his travels, his justice, his mercy, his leadership, and the mighty wall he built. But the Quran never gives stories to entertain us. It gives stories to guide us. So in this final chapter, we ask the question, what does this ancient event teach the Muslim of today? A Muslim living in a world of technology, politics, corruption, information, and confusion. The lessons are not distant. They are alive. They are urgent. And they speak directly to the heart of every believer. Let's explore the 5 most powerful lessons. 1. Leadership is about service, not status. Dhul-Qarnayn was a king, a global leader, a man of unimaginable power. Yet every time he traveled, he wanted to serve people, not to rule them. He protected the weak. He punished injustice. He uplifted the oppressed. He spread peace wherever he went. This is a direct message to our generation. Leadership is not a throne. Leadership is not popularity. Leadership is responsibility before Allah. A father is a leader in his home. A mother is a leader of her children. A teacher is a leader of minds. A business owner is a leader of wealth and ethics. Every one of us is a leader in our circle. And Dhul-Qarnayn teaches us, your leadership is only as good as the lives you uplift. 2. Power without Allah is a disaster. One of the most repeated themes in Dhul-Qarnayn's story is his constant humility. Whenever he accomplished something great, he said, "This is from the mercy of my Lord." He never claimed credit. He never bragged. He never allowed power to enter his heart. Today, the world is filled with people who chase. Fame, followers, control, wealth, influence. But they forget the one who gives and takes. If Allah gives you a blessing, protect it with gratitude. If Allah gives you influence, protect it with humility. If Allah gives you authority, protect it with justice. Because the moment you say, "I did this myself," you're already falling. 3. Protect your community from corruption. Why did Dhul-Qarnayn build a wall? To shield a peaceful nation from a violent, corrupt people. This teaches Muslims today, a community must protect its morality, that a family must protect its values, that a believer must guard his heart. Not every trend should be followed. Not every idea should be accepted. Not every entertainment should be consumed. Not every influence should enter your home. Your wall is your discipline. Your wall is your morals. Your wall is your Islamic identity. Your wall is your connection to Allah. If you do not build your own wall, the world will break you down. For destruction comes when humans forget Allah. The release of Ya'juj and Ma'juj is a warning. When corruption overwhelms the earth, when morality collapses, when arrogance becomes normal, Allah allows chaos to rise as a reminder. Our modern world is beginning to reflect some of these signs. Confusion in identity, corruption in leadership, decline in morality, wars, without purpose, technology, without ethics, wealth, without mercy, knowledge, without wisdom. We are living in a time where walls of morality are crumbling. The story of Ya'juj and Ma'juj is not just about the future. It's a mirror showing what happens when the world forgets Allah. 5. Allah controls history in your life. The greatest lesson of all. Dhul-Qarnayn did not build the wall because he was strong. He built it because Allah allowed it. Ya'juj and Ma'juj will not break the wall because they are strong. They will break it because Allah allows it. Everything begins with Allah. Everything ends with Allah. This means your success is in Allah's hands. Your protection is in Allah's hands. Your wealth is in Allah's hands. Your future is in Allah's hands. Your life and death are in Allah's hands. So do not fear the future. Fear the one who controls it. Love the one who protects you from it. And trust the one who guides you through it. Dhul-Qarnayn's story is not about walls and travel. It is about faith, power, responsibility, protection, trust, destiny. The world may change. Empires may rise and fall. Corruption may spread. Threats may come and go. But the believer who holds tightly to Allah is never shaken. And that is the true wall of protection. The wall, the warning, and the wisdom we must not ignore. And that is the astonishing journey of Dhul-Qarnayn, a king who traveled farther than explorers, judged better than politicians, and built stronger than engineers, yet remained humble, declaring, "This is a mercy from my Lord." His story reminds every believer that threats exist beyond what our eyes can see, that Allah sends protectors when humanity is weak, and that no wall, no matter how strong, can stand forever unless Allah wills it. The Quran does not tell this story to entertain us. It tells it to wake us up. Ya'juj and Ma'juj will break the wall near the end of time. But until then, we must learn what Dhul-Qarnayn taught through his actions. Protect your community. Stand firm against harm. Use your strength for good. And never forget, real power belongs only to Allah. My brothers and sisters, as you leave this episode, ask yourself, what walls have you built to protect your faith? What threats have you allowed to enter your heart? And what blessings has Allah given you that you have not yet used for His sake? May Allah make us people of courage, justice, and strong leadership, like His servant, Dhul-Qarnayn. From Wisdom from the Minbar, this is Malam Gigi, reminding you, stay guided, stay grounded, and stay connected to the Quran. My beloved listeners, if this story moved your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Share the message. Drop your comments. Like the video. And most importantly, subscribe to keep receiving more Quranic truths that strengthen your faith. Until next time, may Allah protect you as He protected nations before us. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.